Sebastian Klein from the Local Government Association.
Thank you, that's excellent. Thanks, Marcus. Thanks everyone for coming out and showing your support for the action that is required. And I'd too like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we stand. Usually I'd start with a bit of a sort of a funny anecdote or something like that. But this time's going to be an observation. I just want to ask if you share my observation. My observation is that there's something a little bit wrong with our democracy. So anyone else felt that there's something not quite right with our system of democracy out there? I'm hearing affirmative there. There's a thing at foot which some people have termed a democratic deficit. A deficit in how we make decisions, in the distance between communities and the people who are charged with making decisions on their behalf. It's something which is increasingly observed and felt in communities at a local level, at the state government and the federal parliament as well. And it's where complex decision-making processes are undermined by some of the dynamics, some of the structures in the heart of our democracy. Things like the distance between a large population and their parliamentarians, the lack of involvement of people in the actual decision-making process, that doesn't reveal the balancing act involved in governance, scarce resources, complex decisions, things like that. And increased access to information. More than ever, we're able to find out whatever we want. And of course, we all know that whatever's on the internet is true. Faster communication. Over-reliance on polling driving decision-making rather than actual informed decisions made by people who have thought about it and know what they're talking about, and actually speaking to the people on the ground. Oppositional politics that polarises debate rather than contributing to ideas and ensuring that the best ideas are the ones that come to the front. Increased expectations that we're able to shape things as soon as the decision's been made that we switch back again, those sorts of things. And corporate interests and lobbyists being granted as much significance, or more even, than communities and the citizens that vote their elections, their government in. And so we find ourselves at a crossroads in human history. We can choose change and change how we do things, or we can allow change to choose what happens to us. A number of recent government examples have demonstrated the failure of the mandate-based model of government to meet the needs and expectations of a community that has more information than ever before and is given less responsibility in contributing to those decisions, in terms of digesting that information and charting the course of action together. These include things like, of course, one dear to all of our hearts, the carbon tax, but also Abbott and Hockey's budget crisis, which they still, I don't think, ever managed to get a budget through. The East-West link and how we dealt with water shortages in this state. All of these things were decided at a government level with a top-down attitude rather than involving individual people in solving these solutions from the ground up. All of this has left the architects of these decisions open to the criticism of many who are eager and cynical to tear down whoever is in power for whatever reasons they're being fed by some of the popular media outlets, Murdoch and many others. Many of these complex problems still face us. Future taxation challenges remain foremost in government's minds around the country. Transport, growing population levels and of course climate change are all parts of the complex challenges we face in the future. We've seen this month 3 major fires across each of the southern states in mainland Australia before the end of spring. We've seen record temperatures every month just about of this year. We've seen just about more of climate change than we imagined would be possible this early in the piece. And more than any other challenge we face, it requires us to band together in order to influence how our nation's bodies politic function. Deliberative democracy and the renewal of our democratic system is what exactly is required. It involves bringing community into the decision-making process from the point of inquiry and granting them a significant responsibility in deciding our course of action. This can occur through all manner of platforms, through citizens' juries, true engagement through a wide range of physical and new online communication platforms, representative panels and many other practices. Whichever method is used though, the core principle is about engaging the people as responsible parties in planning the way forward for our communities and populations, for our country, as mired as we are in the indecision combined with the indecision inspired by a combination of wicked problems and an acerbic oppositional politic. It's the polar opposite of a system that takes difficult problems and comes up with a solution somewhere in the black box of government, under the influence of corporations and vested interests, before presenting it back to the citizenry as a fait accompli to be derided and cut down. It involves putting people, the community, back in the driver's seat of decision making, and reducing the ego of governments convinced they have a right to decide for, rather than with and on behalf of the people. There is no other challenge that underlines this need for new ways of governing ourselves so much as climate change. There is no time where it has been so very urgent that we as individuals, as citizens, must re-engage with and demand redesign of these processes. We must no longer wait for governments to administer solutions. We must demand to be involved in them.